Good morning. Welcome to the King's Report to News Hour. Let's see, this is Wednesday. This is Wednesday. It's the second day in the fifth month in the 16th year of Changi. Tim Elder sitting in for the second king of Chanukok. And on Wednesdays, we try to step back from the hullabaloo of the daily back and forth in Washington and between, you know, Russia and Ukraine and US and China and everything else. Just let it sit back a bit, and we go back and say, okay, well, we have a sort of shall we say, a viewpoint, right, for looking at the world. And the king has said that theology leads to culture, and culture leads to politics. And so we look at the theology. This is the basis of where we stand and how we look at so we look at the world. And so today I want to go to something a bit, well, kind of spiritual. Let me see. Where is it? Here we go. Okay. A bit spiritual. And I'm going to go through a speech that is listed in the Cheonsongyong. And usually, the Cheonsongyong only gives maybe a paragraph or two or something like that. But in this case, um, Father has listed the entire speech, I believe, that he gave. And I don't know where he gave this. Perhaps it was to members, I don't know. But it was given, see if I can find a date here. Yes, February 2nd, 1975, which I'm kind of betting was his birthday. I don't know. Maybe it was his birthday. Could have been. Anyway, so I want to go through this because as you can see, the title is the course of spiritual experience. And Father, in this speech and in other places, emphasizes the importance of spiritual experience. Now, to be sure, spiritual experience is not enough. And so I don't want anyone to think that Father is saying that the spiritual experience is the be all and the end all. And people have spiritual experiences and they get revelations. And I hear from people who have these revelations, all right, saying, oh, the second king should be doing this, and oh, the second king should be doing that. Father told me. And I tell them, listen, if Father wants to communicate with the second king, he has a direct line. Okay, do not need a translator or an intermediary or anything else. But God does give us revelations so that we can accomplish our responsibility in whatever position that we have been placed in by the providence. And so it's important to remember that spiritual experiences are, for most part, by and large, these are personal experiences. And you can share them if you like, or not. Or you can share them partially, depending on your own wise judgment. But anyway, Father talks here about spiritual experiences, and the process of spiritual experiences, which I think is quite interesting, and I found his explanation quite interesting and important to me in my own life. All right, so let's talk about the course or the process. Hwajong, the Korean, I think, is probably more accurately translated as process, but here they translated it as course, and that's okay. Let's not quibble with that. Get rid of this. Although we may be in a position to worship God, who is the center of our faith, our position is unclear. Then where should we start looking for that position? So yes, we believe in God, and so in our faith, but our position is unclear. So although our subject partner is established, so we cannot feel it. No, we know that God is our subject partner, but we cannot really actually feel God, right? We cannot conclusively distinguish such a spiritual thing as clearly as we perceive things with our five physical senses. Now, in the OSTP, Father says that we need to come to know God, all right, to the point where we're not just believing in him, but we know him with certainty, that we know his existence with certainty, to the same level of certainty that we know our father or mother or a friend or the person sitting next to us is existing and is alive. We need to have that degree of certainty. He's speaking here in 1975 to group of people, I think, who haven't yet got to that point, and so at least saying, well, we cannot conclusively distinguish such a spiritual thing as clearly as we perceive things with our five physical senses. So that's where most of the world is right now. When we consider from where we should begin approaching this problem, we understand that we cannot start by looking into the subject partner. We could not possibly start by looking into God himself. We should, to that end, begin looking into ourselves first. Each individual has a mind and body. Although we have both mind and body, we cannot, however, begin to seek within ourselves for this position, centering on our body. Only by centering on the mind should the examination be carried out. So we need to understand our own mind. That's what he's saying. Okay? When we observe fallen people today, whether 1,000 or even 10,000, do we see that their minds are the same? Although the root may be the same, the minds differ depending on the nature of their environments. Not all are the same. Why? Our faces are different, our habits are different, and the emotions we feel are different. In the same way, our horizontal line and the perpendicular line with which we can form an angle is different. We must have the angle set correctly. Then how should this be done? With heaven as the subject partner, we should stand as the object partner before that subject. God, the subject partner, has surely given humankind the foundation to respond to him as his object partner. Therefore, contained within that foundation of the horizontal mind, there must be a standard for the mind to be perpendicularly oriented in a direction toward the vertical. That direction surely exists. When you look at a horizontal line, it looks like a plane, but when it stands perpendicular, the standard for that perpendicular line will be different. How do you adjust to the 0 point? If you go this way, there will be surely a counteraction. Therefore, you have to adjust to that 0 point. In a power plant, there are many different types of meters. Each meter has something similar to the 0 point from which direction, power, and quantity are measured. There has to be such a 0 point standard. What kind of standard is that? It is something that exists and yet does not. Or it is something that exists and yet does not. Or something that does not exist and yet does. There is such a place. Those who practice Zen meditation use the term ecstasy to refer to a state of mind similar to that. You should be able to approach a spiritual level of that kind. Once you reach that standard, you will find something that would surely enable your horizontal standard to respond. Let me take a drink here. There is a gate in your mind, and it is called the mind's gate. It does not open in just one direction. Since your mind rotates, the gate moves as well. Now, gate, and I think in Korean, moon, I know, gate, but if you're riding in a car with a Korean, right, and he says, open the moon, he does not mean open the door. Okay, he means open the window. Or Changmun, of course, is the actual word for window, but it's often abbreviated as moon. So here, I would actually prefer to translate this as window rather than gate. It may be easier for people to understand. That's sort of the window of the mind, right? Rather than the gate of the mind. I think maybe English speakers might be more familiar with the idea of a mind having a window than a gate. But anyway, let's go with what they have here. Without going through such a gate, you as a minus cannot establish a relationship with the plus. Everyone has that kind of mind's gate. When you pray, you get a different feeling depending on the time of your prayer. Prayer at 1 o'clock, and he's talking about 1 o'clock in the morning, I think, rather than afternoon. Prayer at 1 o'clock is different from prayer at 3 o'clock. You will understand this when you experience it. If you pray in a deep and mysterious state, you will know that your prayer will be different depending on when you pray. I think rather than mysterious, probably mystical might be a better translation there. If you pray in a deep and mystical state, you will know that your prayer will be different depending on when you pray. It will feel different. What you feel in the morning, at noon, in the early evening, and at night are all different. Likewise, the level of our feeling within our state of mind differs. In the same way, our physical senses respond differently to the changes of the four seasons. That is how it is in the realm of our mind. So you should know the best time to pray. That time will be when the degrees of your response to God is greatest. As you continue to delve into that sphere, you will find the gate. When the gate of God and the gate of your mind become perfectly one and revolve around a certain standard, you will find the path to fully experience what God is feeling. What should you do to reach this state? You need to cultivate your mind. Some religions have expanded in step with God's providence and others in step with Satan. Since these religions are all mixed up, so here, this is interesting. Some religions have expanded in step with God's providence and others in step with Satan. So not all religions are expanding in step with God, right? Okay, I think we know where that's going, yes. Since these religions are all mixed up, it is extremely difficult to differentiate the good and bad. The same is true within the realm of our mind. There are good minds and at the same time evil minds. Your mind may think, yes, I am good, but that thought itself is not good. Our minds were formed as a result of the fall. Consequently, there are some whose minds are influenced by evil and the evil realm of Satan, and others by goodness. There are all types of minds. Then what is of utmost importance? The way you set the gate to your mind is the most important matter in your life of faith. Therefore, in your life of faith, always be alert to those times when the gate of your mind opens and how to tune it to the gate of God's mind. Always be prepared for this. You always need to have a mindset in your daily life of seeking and adjusting your mind to God at any given time. Therefore, be constantly aware of the depth of your mind and try to open the gate of your mind. Then try to adjust it to the place where the gate of heaven is located. This is the most precious thing to do in your life of faith. Of course, throughout here, they're translating the word ma'um as mind, which I think, given the situation, is the best translation. The only other translation would be heart, which I think in this context would not fit. But ma'um is a very complicated word. Famous example is that, well, a Japanese author actually wrote a novel by the name of Kokoro, which is the Japanese word for ma'um. And the translator, in translating this novel into English, wrote several pages in the introduction trying to explain the concept of kokoro or ma'um. So I think also we need to, first of all, understand that that ma'um does not equal mind. They're not the same. A mind is probably the best equivalent, but it is far from a totally satisfactory equivalent. And so what do we do? Well, as we go through Father's words, then we come across how Father uses ma'um, and so we can sort of get a feeling. It's really a feeling, isn't it, of what Father means by ma'um. And this is why it's important for us to be reading True Father's words. You cannot assume that the translations are good enough, all right? This is not the no brand burger shop that's near my home where the no brand burger. It's good enough. Why pay more? Unfortunately, many people feel that way about translations. It's good enough, Why suffer anymore? Why go to the trouble of learning Korean? All right, but no, this is not no brand burger. This is we need to, if we're going to really become one with God's heart, we need to understand what Father means. And of course, learning Korean is a start. It's a start. Learning Korean is a start. Because you may have noticed that not all Koreans understand what Father's saying. Okay. Not all Koreans accept Father as the Lord of the Second Advent. So obviously there's more to it than just learning Korean. Kim Jong-un speaks Korean, right? But he's still got a ways to go before he receives his blessing, probably. But anyway, I just wanted to point out that what we were reading here is mind. It's a ma'um, and we need to keep that in mind. Okay. Therefore, be constantly aware of the depth of your mind and try to open the gate to your mind. Then try to adjust it to the place where the gate of heaven is located. This is the most precious thing to do in your life of faith. As you gradually come to stand in that object position, what happens? You will experience a new three-dimensional feeling that you never felt before. You will somehow come to experience that unknown feeling. In the past, you may have experienced only a wintry sensation, but you will start experiencing the sensations not only of autumn, but also summer and spring as well. Why? The universe is rotating, and so is our mind. Isn't it interesting that Father is saying the universe is rotating? This is in 1975. And of course, today, it's common knowledge among astrophysicists that the universe is in fact rotating. But Father is bringing this point up in 1975. Just as the rotation of the planet causes the four seasons, the realm of mind in motion naturally allows us to feel the changing degrees of sensitivity. There are four seasons in a year. A day, however, is a year in miniature. There are four seasons in a day. The morning corresponds to spring, the noon to summer, the early evening to fall, and the night to winter. In this way, there are four forms of seasons in a day. There are also four seasons in the morning, which correspond to spring. You can have springtime, summery, autumnal, and wintry feelings even during just the morning. Just as large units are divided into subunits on a large scale, small units are also divided into subunits on a smaller scale. Our mind is like that. In other words, the feelings your mind experiences are not always fixed. According to these seasons, it would be good to know that you correspond to spring, but you are unaware that you correspond to winter. You should therefore know how to discern what the present time corresponds to by having a variety of experiences and through an abundant life of prayer. Once you are in such a state, what kinds of phenomena happen? Okay, now this gets interesting from here. Okay. This is my favorite part of this speech. In Korean, there's the word amshi. Amshi. Okay. By an example, you can understand its meaning. A person casually walking along happens to see a bird fly off from the wall of a beautiful house. Even after the bird has flown away, the observation of the event implicitly teaches a lesson. Such phenomena will occur. Such phenomena will start taking place in your actual daily life. So, in other words, Father is saying that, well, the bird, by flying off of the roof of that house as you were walking by, draws your attention to that house. And perhaps there's someone in that house who is ready to receive God's word. So this is a kind of an amshi that here the translation in English I see as a hint. I suppose that's the best we can do. But okay, the number of these suggestive conditions will increase. You will derive insight into something as you happen to overhear someone talking. Such experiences will increase gradually, right? So you hear someone talking and you just suddenly the light goes off and you understand something that you didn't understand before. Once past that stage, okay, so then we have another stage then. What kinds of phenomena take place? You will start receiving revelations in your dreams, but I'm not talking about the ones during deep sleep. St. Paul experienced the third heaven while half awake. Do not let such phenomena pass you by inadvertently. Compile and analyze the data scientifically to find out what they are trying to connect you to. The result will surely come out. You will gradually experience that the revelations you had in your dream, which you can hardly forget, will turn out true 100% in reality. You will have such experiences. This is interesting, I think. Yeah, I've done that in the past. Sort of have a notebook by my bedside, and if I have a dream that I write down. Unfortunately, these days I don't dream anymore. I know. Scientists will say yes, you do, but just you don't remember them. Well, anyway, it's the same thing. If I don't remember them, People or things you connect with in the half-awake stage of your dream are going to appear in reality. You may think you experienced having sung a song with someone in a dream, but in reality, you were not dreaming. You were actually singing that song with someone at your side. Such phenomena will happen. What this means is that your mind has entered a realm in which it resonates with the spirit realm like a tuning fork. You should regard such things as very precious. Then what happens next? Okay, now we're going to number 3. As God exists, where will he appear? God will appear not in the air, but through your mind. Why have not you been able to experience that? Because your mind has not yet firmly established, is not yet firmly established in its own existence, and because you have become people who are being dragged around by your body. Once your mind is firmly established within its existence and forms a higher dimension of character whereby you can declare it to be another subject entity, the situation will surely be different. When you reach a higher level through prayer, you will start talking with your mind. A state of resonance will occur. You will be on a higher level and you will physically hear what you are saying in your mind. You will advance to that kind of state. During the first stage, a hint or suggestion in your daily life will be given. Therefore, believers must collect the vast amounts of such facts. When coming into contact with people, do not treat them offhandedly. Always wonder if they can teach you something. Always be hungry in heart. Have a seeking heart that expects to receive something from those people. After all, what is the self? You are always either a subject or an object partner in a relationship. It means you are in a fixed position, either as a subject or an object partner. Therefore, when a being appears who can become your subject or object partner, you will know it immediately. If you have people who to witness to, you will easily know what kind of people they are. Your mind would go to them out of joy by way of thought waves. Every mind has its own wavelength. A butcher smells of meat, and a dealer in fabrics smells of cloth. Just as your body has its own smell, your mind has its own unique smell. A form of sensing the smell of the mind will take place. Our body has something similar to the sense of touch that makes contact with everything. Your mind emits something like invisible electronic waves to look for its own object. Therefore, believers must think that everything is in a reciprocal relationship with them. Why is that necessary? Because we have lost all kinds of relationships due to the fall. The fall severed our ties with nature, with the original human being, with God. In order to reconnect the world of these severed relationships, you must always endeavor to get yourself connected. Those relationships can be pioneered only when you take such action. Without such an attitude, you will never succeed in pioneering a relationship. All of you must have the heart that is seeking something. After praying in the morning, you should be able to sense that something good will happen that day. Do not think that something good will happen on its own course, but actively start looking for whatever it is. This type of attitude is what you should have in leading a life of faith. Therefore, feelings, experiences, and putting them into action will bring life to you. All this occurs during the half-wake state. If your spiritual level goes higher, what will happen? You will start, okay, now we're in the next stage now, 4, I think we're in number 4 now. You'll start receiving revelations and directions. You have to analyze revelations. So you have to analyze revelations. Don't just take them at face value, right? Directions are given directly to you by someone, but it is different with revelations, which is why they lead to problems. You must always interpret revelations. Some revelations come verbally and others visually. You could have a vision of a couple of deer drinking water from a spring and then glancing at a mountain in the distance on a nice spring day. Such a vision symbolizes boundless hope and happiness. All such phenomena will take place. Such things are not accidental. However, heaven is doing this to keep you to help you to cultivate the field of your mind. Why does it have to be so? The field of your mind is not flat like a sheet of glass. It is uneven. It is not flat like a sheet of glass. It is uneven. It is in the form of a flat surface, but the shape itself is uneven. So when a heavenly ray hits the uneven plane of your mind, it will be reflected towards a direction opposite to the incoming ray, just like the refraction of light. Visions, therefore, are all different. God works in such a way to enlighten each part of your mind. After the stage of revelations, you enter the stage where you have experiences such as those found in the book of Revelation. Yeah, maybe we're on number 5 now, I think. In this stage, you enter the spirit world and you have various experiences all day long. You get connected to a far-off world. You can reach the limits of a state where you feel God in your daily life. Unless your faith is based on such experiences, you cannot apply the resultant realm of God's great will to the field or sphere of your daily life. Therefore, believers without such experiences cannot be trusted. Faith based on such experiences is important. For this reason, you must make an effort to enlighten yourselves. While our members are praying, spiritual phenomena are taking place. Such things called spiritual phenomena do exist. These spiritual forces enter your bodies like electric power. You should know if you had such experiences. You will experience a force stronger than your normal awareness entering your body, as if you were in contact with high pressure. When you experience supernatural and superhuman emotions, your body will certainly reject them, since your body carries the fallen nature. Your body will surely come to repel this divine nature from God. Therefore, if some kind of godly nature flows strongly into fallen humankind, fallen people cannot be purified in a natural way. When this power flows in, it does not come in at once, but enters in an alternating plus and minus manner in the way sound waves are transmitted with alternating amplifications and attenuations. This power comes in sometimes strongly and sometimes weakly, all the while cultivating us. You will have vibrations, lose your consciousness, and the phenomenon in which spiritual forces act strongly takes place. This is manifested in spiritual phenomena. What will happen next if you continue having such experiences? I think now we're at number 6, right? Your physical body and your physical fallen nature will become purified. And through this, you will naturally come to accept these works 100%. When that happens, even without such phenomena, you can enter a state higher than the spiritual phenomena and then receive all that heaven teaches while not being overwhelmed at all. You have to go through these courses to reach that level of purification, as well as the phases of receiving revelations and directions. Once you reach the level of such experiences, your mind will give you directions. You will be struck dumb when you try to talk to someone, or will scold someone in spite of yourself. You will experience such incomprehensible phenomena from time to time. Therefore, you have to be able to control them. If you mishandle the situation, people may treat you like a crazy person. It is absolutely necessary to go through such a course of experiencing these things. If you enter the position of having had experience through the trials of life, if you enter the position of having experienced through the trials of life, maybe grammar a little bit shaky there, by feeling and experiencing that which entered your mind, you will become stronger. You will not be affected by anyone's comments. Understand that both spiritual experiences and their realization are of the utmost importance in your lives of faith. What should we do to enter that state? Generally, there are 2 types of people. The first type consists of so-called intellectuals who search for truth. They only accept things that stand to reason and reject anything contrary to it. The other type consists of people who grasp things by feeling rather than reason. In the Unification Church, they are called the intellectual people and the spiritual people, respectively. Whereas intellectual people look for external understanding first and then try to apply it to the internal world, spiritual people look for an internal feeling first and then try to apply them to the external world. We may call the former the incoming type, the latter the outgoing type. These are the 2 types of people. Since that is the case, intellectuals generally do not like prayer. When they think about it, it looks like superstition. It cannot be trusted, and it makes them feel that their own existence is going to be denied. Those are the intellectuals. They seek to find truth by forming theories. Spiritual people, on the other hand, are born being fond of calling on the name of God. They just like God for no particular reason and do not require any explanation. They do not mind skipping meals as long as they can call God Father. Such people exist. Generally speaking, in spiritual movements, which type of people do you think are successful in creating a revolutionary movement? Intellectuals cannot do it. Those who have accomplished great things in the realm of faith were not intellectuals, but were mostly simple and uneducated. They were spiritual people. They live true to their feelings and do not care about the world. They do exactly what God tells them. There will arise occasions in which what they are doing turns out to be exactly the right thing to do in that situation. As a result, they turn out to become great figures in history. St. Paul was originally an intellectual, but since he was struck by spiritual lightning from heaven on the road to Damascus, he changed his mind and went on by faith instead of his head. He felt that by searching internally, one found an explosive path rather than uh, rather than by searching externally, which led him to deny everything that was external and start respecting things that were internal. Through this, he became a standard bearer of the new Christian revolution. Such being the case, those emphasizing reason cannot play a role as great leaders of the religious world of the spirit. There are two types of people. You should know which group you belong to. Spiritual people in general are usually not great at reasoning, though they are great spiritually. They may start out strongly, but they become weak later on. Then, since they are not consistent from beginning to end, they do not last forever. They surely drop out at a certain point. On the other hand, those who are good at reasoning and truth, but poor spiritually, can also never last long. Therefore, you have to make an effort to coordinate these two aspects of your daily life. It is said that you must worship in prayer and in truth, in spirit and in truth. This means that you have to create a balance and enter a state of harmony. People should mediate between the spiritual and physical worlds. You should stand in the center of the spiritual world and be the people who can mediate standing at the center of the world of truth. Otherwise, you cannot attain the perfected or the completed, I would say, completed position. Praise God for the word that He has given us. No, I'm sorry. He says a perfect here. Okay. In this case, a perfected is correct. Well, it says 완전한 자리가 될 수 없습니다. Here in the Korean. Okay. So, wow, that is a kind of a unique speech, and I've been through it a few times during my life. And every time I see a bird flying off of a building now, but that's just an example. Okay, that's just an example. Doesn't mean that every time you see a bird flying off of a building that the guy's trying to tell you something. It's an example of how things can happen. But once you read the speech, then you can't unread it, right? So you're always looking for birds flying off of buildings. But it's a very deep speech, and Father's expressing things in words that cannot really be expressed in words, not even in Korean, much less in English. So I think the best way that we can approach this speech is to read it and then to see how it can be applied in our daily lives, in our prayers, for example, especially the gate, or I prefer the window of our mind. And when is the best time for us to pray? Is it 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock? And Father has established a hundoke for 5 o'clock because he believes, and he knows actually, that is the best time for people to be starting the day by reading God's word. When most of the world is still asleep or just waking up, then we who are at the tip of the spear in the new godly revolution, we are starting the day with God's word, and that helps us, but it also helps the world, because then the world then can benefit from the spiritual condition that we are making. And to give an example of the window of the mind, and maybe you have examples too, but when I first heard the principle, it made absolutely no sense to me, and it was just a weird, with arrows going around, in circles, and I don't know where, but then God gave me a second chance, and then it made perfect sense. So what was the difference then? What was the difference? Well, the difference was that the window, or the gate, or window, I really prefer window. The window of my mind was in tune with the the truth, with God's truth, and with the window, or maybe the window of the person of the mind of the person who was giving the lecture at the time. So, you know, I'm sure you have people that you've been witnessing to for years, perhaps decades, and you wonder if they will ever come to God, and they will. They will, because they are also God's creation, and there is a part of them that seeks after God's original truth. And so we can always be hopeful and always be certain that this is going to bear fruit, and our Chongsong will always bear fruit, if not in the person that we are working for, praying for, then someone else. But Father says that Chongsong will never be lost and never goes in vain. God will use it somewhere, somewhere. Um, you know, we think that we are only a few, but of course, God prefers it that way, maybe. Because then when the victory is won, we cannot say that it was our victory, that it was God's victory. Whereas if we are in the millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions, then we can say, "Hey, we won this without God." Perhaps that's why, perhaps that's why God prefers to work with few rather than many. But certainly, God is working through the second king and is working through the um, the people who are supporting him, the people who are following him and supporting his mission. Which reminds me of something I wanted to say. You know, we come across people who say, "Oh yeah, I support the second king," and my question is, "All right, oh yeah, okay, how? How are you supporting the second king? Are you donating? Are you going around telling people about the second king, about testifying to what he's doing, or are you simply, whispering in the closet, 'I support the second king'?" I think for many people, that the third option is probably true for many of these people who say they support the second king, and they expect us to be inspired by that. Oh wow, yeah, he supports the second king. No, listen, come on, we're not inspired by anyone supporting the second king. We are inspired by people who uh, make a truly great effort to contribute to the providence of the second king. That is for sure. And well, great effort, of course, depends on your situation. If a person has $1 million, then a great effort will be one thing. If a person only has a few $100s to their name, then great effort will mean something completely different. But anyway, yes, I think it's important that we look at ourselves and look at our position and do what we um, believe that God wants us to do and what God needs us to do at this time. So that you saw the pages as I was going through the pages in the English Chansangyal. So I encourage you to look it up and uh, read it yourself. Perhaps maybe you can use it in a family hundo session. I think that would be very useful. It's a It's one of those mystical speeches that you don't find too many of in the Father's collection. Yes. Today, I think we're going to go ahead and end early. I just got back from Yosu, and uh, I could use the extra 20 minutes if you don't mind. Okay. All right. So let's knock it off there for today. Tomorrow we'll be back to the news, and we'll see how Satan's world is falling apart and how God's world is coming in its place. Oh, just one thing. No, I'll save it for tomorrow. It's not about what we're supposed to be talking about today. So I'll save it for tomorrow. All right. God bless Godspeed. May his kingdom come.